Hey, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein, and what we're going to be talking about today is how you get forms, templates, contracts for your business. And specifically, I'm going to be doing a review of USLegalForms. Now, I am an affiliate of them, but I actually have bought a subscription for my LLC. That's not my law firm. That's my business for YouTube stuff. And I'm going to show you how to use them to create forms for your business. Specifically, this is going to be for my LLC, making the operating agreement and that kind of stuff that you normally need to make. But we're also going to do kind of an inside tour of USLegalForms to see all the different stuff they have available there. Now, I actually have already done a review of them in the past. USLegalForms, one of the nice things about them is they've been around for a really long time. They're a real company. Like there's some template things out there that are free that it's like, it's very, very sketchy. And there's a number of different form services you can use. I think USLegalForms is really good from a perspective of being cost effective and having a lot of different stuff. But let's actually look into it. And I'm going to give you kind of a tutorial on how you can use it to create forms. So right now we're on the homepage, USLegalForms.com. You can access this without even having an account, just so you can like see it and see what's there. They have both personal forms, all kinds of stuff, including like a will and stuff for divorce and all these things, as well as business forms. So it's a very in-depth thing on their website for all kinds of different stuff. Let's also look down, way down at the bottom. I'm going to just show you this because they also have many other companies that they're affiliated with, including PDF stuff, signing document things, like a whole bunch of other resources you can utilize for that. They also have forms in Spanish, which I think is interesting too. And they have a way you can do notarization. They also have incorporation services that I haven't checked out yet. All right, so I've logged into my account, and this is the account for my other business, for my LLC that owns my YouTube channels. And that's why it's a different Gmail address. You don't message this for legal things. When you go into your account, you can upload documents that you already have if you want to use their signing services or any of that notarization, any of that kind of stuff. Then they have a whole bunch of legal resources. Though they have a legal dictionary, they have QAs that you can search. Let's see, helpful topics, which is just overall categories. And they have something called legal life articles about different topics. So if you look at the definitions, I'm just going to click on some things so we can see. It has definitions of things that probably people look up a lot. Like let's say something that is, indemnity. Let's look at indemnity. So this is just like a really short definition of what an indemnity bond is. So that can be helpful if you're trying to look things up, and you can search in here for different definitions. Legal QAs are going to be common questions. So let's find something remotely businessy. LLC. Let's click on LLC. What do they say about LLC? So one of these things is that these all have the state in there. So people have asked these questions and someone has answered. That's one thing that's really important to know about not all legal issues in the United States, but many legal issues in the United States, is that a lot of them are depending upon state law. And so whenever you're looking up legal stuff online, you want to make sure that they're addressing the fact that what state is that person in, because it could be different in your state. Now, there are some things that are actually under federal law, like trademarks, USPTO trademarks, because there's also state law trademarks. The United States is complicated. All right, so let's just click on one of these. What business form is best? And then you can look at the answer. So then helpful topics, business organizations, and it gives you a little pluses and minuses of different business organizations. That can be helpful for you just to kind of understand from a high level. And then this, I think, is more about general things, owning a business. And then it has like some articles in there. So yeah, it's really just giving you some basic things. All right, PDF filler, that is something for the premium plan, which I don't have. Sign Now is also the premium plan. You can notarize documents you're going to pay for the notarization service, but you can do it online, which is very helpful if you need something notarized. But what we're actually doing is looking at setting up an LLC. And so what we want to do is, this LLC was made in New Mexico. So we're going to search down for New Mexico, and we're going to do an LLC Operating Agreement. Oops. There you are. Search. All right. And so specifically we want this LLC was set up in New Mexico. So we specifically want a LLC operating agreement that's for New Mexico, which I don't have in my own personal templates because I'm a California lawyer, not a New Mexican lawyer. All right, so we scroll down, single member LLC. So the one thing to know if you're making an LLC is that if you have an LLC that has multiple members, you actually need a more robust operating agreement. Actually, I should take a step back. What's an operating agreement? So an operating agreement for LLC is similar to a partnership agreement for partners. It is something that the owners, the members of the LLC sign that says what the rules are going to be for the LLC. It's usually not required by the state. You don't file it with the state, but it is an incredibly good idea to have because it provides a paper trail to show that your LLC is legit. And also it says what the rules are for your LLC. This is incredibly important if you have multiple owners because it'll say things like what's the voting power, what things need to be unanimous agreement versus just more than 50% agreement among the owners. What happens if one of the owners dies? Do their heirs actually get to run the LLC or do they just inherit the profit distribution or something else? What if one of the owners is horribly ill or wants to quit the business? Can they sell it to anybody? Their shares to anyone? So you want those things worked out, especially for a very small business in the sense of it only has a couple owners. This is really, really important. So a single member LLC though, there's certain things that it doesn't need in the operating agreement. So it doesn't really make sense to have. Like for my LLC, I'm the only owner. I don't plan to bring in any other owners. And if you do plan to bring in someone in the relatively short term, you'll want to have an operating agreement that addresses that. But I'm only planning to have this forever. So I don't need about voting. Like there's nobody else to vote. It's just me. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that don't need to be in there. So let's click on this and see how it looks. Now I'm already paid for this in the sense I have a membership. So I can just download it, but otherwise you can pay for it. So will give you a preview though. So you can look at this. Let me look at the free preview. All right. So single member operating arrangement of an LLC. It has when it was formed, what the articles of organization, that's the thing that you file with the state that was like already done when you set it up. What the business is going to be. You could also have any lawful business. Who's the registered agent? How long will it exist? It's in perpetuity is what mine is. What's the fiscal year? That's what your tax year is going to be, which is the default is it's an annual, through the end of the calendar year, but it could be a different time of year. And a lot of big businesses have it be different times of years because closing your books on December 31st can be logistically complicated, especially if you do a lot of holiday sales and things like that. Who's the initial member? The initial member has to approve anyone else joining. How is it going to be managed? So the thing is, if it's a one owner business, it's just me managing it, nobody else. So I don't need to put in a whole bunch of things. If you have a complicated LLC, you can have a bunch of you can have one person be the actual person who's the manager, and you can even hire an outside manager to run it. The initial contribution to set up the business, profits and losses, all decisions will be made by the member. And the thing is, for a single owner LLC, what I highly recommend is if you bring in other owners, you actually create an entirely new operating agreement. I think it makes more sense than trying to futz with the one that you already have, but you should still have one. What if someone wants to leave or quit? Any restrictions on sale? What the tax matters are? It's LLC tax as sole proprietorship, which is what I have for that LLC. It doesn't make enough money to have it be taxed as an S corp. But that's one of the flexibilities of an LLC. In the beginning, you could have it be taxed as a sole proprietorship if it's one owner, and then you can later elect it to be taxed as an S corp, which is like what my corporation is for my law firm. That gives you a lot of extra tax planning, but it also has higher costs. So it doesn't make sense to do in the beginning. All kinds of miscellaneous things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and download this as a Word document. Yeah, so you can see now it is a Word document that I can edit any of this, okay? It has big blanks for the things that you would normally fill in. Now, because I'm a lawyer, I'm going to futz with this a lot. Because of course I am. I'm a lawyer. I'm going to mess with this a lot. I actually should have done this a long time ago. I created this LLC a while ago. And being the, cobbler doesn't have their own shoes kind of problem, I didn't worry about doing the agreement, mostly because the channel that was owned by this LLC wasn't monetized. And so the LLC wasn't making any money yet. However, it got monetized much faster than I thought it would. Because I had a video go viral-ish. And so I actually need to do this stuff. I should have done it last year. So I'm going to be futzing with this. I'm not going to show you all that, what I'm going to do, because that kind of stuff really depends upon your own situation. And as a lawyer, I'm going to do that kind of stuff that may not make sense for a non-lawyer to do. But you can see how this is a great way to get some fairly well done forms, Now, going back to where I was, there's also an operating agreement. There's other things that you can have as well. So, for example, there's other kind of variations that may be important. So you can have an LLC operating agreement where capital contributions determine interest shares. So let's say it's not a 50-50. One person is putting in a lot more money, or they're going to put in other money later. An operating agreement for a married couple, an operating agreement for very specific purposes. So this is an LLC operating agreement for a single member. So they have multiple options, and this one says it's multi-state, and it looks to be, so one of the things that this does is it actually designates someone as the CEO. So something that is I was actually just messaging with a member of Patreon, I think it was, about this. If you have an LLC, you can make up titles for the owners or the people who are managing it. Now, each owner is a member. That's, who they are. And then you will have the members can manage it, or you can actually have a manager who may or may not be an owner. That's definitely true with those names, members and managers. However, you can also have a president, you can have a CEO, whatever. I've had clients even make up their own titles. And that's how you sign your contracts and things like that, is that title, and you put that on your resume, whatever you want to do. It's really up to you. It's not like a corporation where you're required to have certain officers. It depends on the state, exactly what offices you're required to have, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's anywhere that you require to have a CEO. That's more of a common thing when a business is larger. And then this one that I did, the single member limited LLC operating agreement, was actually for New Mexico specifically. It's not like for the entire United States. Now, another thing, next thing I want to do is have some resolutions for the LLC. So which would typically authorize you to open a bank account, which I actually already did. So I'm kind of backwards paper trailing. It's such an example of a lawyer not doing all this stuff in the right order, which you're actually supposed to do. And to give myself the power to be the president and stuff like that. So this is something that I really should have done a long time ago. So let's go ahead and look at this. LLC notices, resolutions, and other operating forms package. And this is specifically, again, for New Mexico and for an LLC. And has a whole bunch of different forms. Notice of meeting, general purpose, resolution of meeting, new members, blah, blah, blah. a whole bunch of different things. So one of the things typically for an LLC that has more than one member is when you have a meeting of the members, it needs to be like an official meeting, which is kind of awkward if you have just 2 or 3 members, especially if they're like a married couple or something like that. But you do want to sometimes have formal meetings for really big things. Like, let's say you decide you're going to get a loan. Okay, you're going to apply for a small business loan. You want to paper trail that, even if it's a married couple who owns this business, or even if it's one owner of the business. You want to paper trail kind of big decisions that aren't in the ordinary course of business. So things like opening the initial bank accounts and getting the initial credit card. So I have a American Express card for that LLC. That's an example. You want to have it for getting any loans, for signing a lease, assuming that you're not in a real estate business. So it would be the ordinary course. Most businesses aren't. So signing a lease would be that. Anything that's not just the ordinary business that you do every day. Could be buying very large quantities of equipment, like equipment versus inventory, All right. So we're going to go ahead and download all of this and see what it looks like. Okay. So notice of the meetings of the members, a resolution. And so this is the resolution. So you don't have stockholders who vote on things. You don't have a board of directors who votes on things. For LLC, the members vote on things. And in some cases, the managers might. But so what are the members voting on? So I'm going to be using this to say that I authorize myself to open up a bank account, and that I authorize myself to open up a credit card. And also I'm going to say that I am ratifying that I had the authorization, because I actually already did in the past and didn't really set it up correctly in the right order. Anyway, one of the reasons I'm actually bringing this up is because if you didn't do all the right things in the past, that is very normal. Sometimes I do that too. So you just fix it by paper trailing it later. And you have the LLC or your corporation or whatever is adopt what you did in the past to kind of clean it all up. And then you clean it all up and then try to do the right thing going forward. And that's fine. I'm not going to say it's the best, right? It's better to do it ahead of time, but for really small businesses, it's a very, very common thing. So I don't really need to give myself notice, but I have different resolutions. You could change your operating agreement. And then, this has a whole big set of different things to use as examples, which is very helpful. And that's one of the things that I would generally recommend is when you're looking for forms, if it's possible to have forms that are specifically for your state, do that. Sometimes you'll need a form that there isn't one specifically for your state. It's the only one you can find is general, but it is better to have one for your state than not. So, and I also want to look at a couple other documents that I think a lot of people are needing. So let's go back to the very beginning. So trademark assignment. This is a common thing that people need. If you, for example, let's say I actually have to do this in my business. When I originally filed for the trademarks for my YouTube channels, I did it in my own name. And I actually need to assign that trademark, kind of sell it to my LLC because I'm putting everything in the LLC. The LLC didn't exist when I applied for it originally. All right. So I want to assign the trademark. I'm going to just look at this one and see. Multi-state, copyright, patents, and trademarks assignments. Select your state. So this is a good question. We're going to do it under New Mexico law. And I say that because I'm in California. I am a citizen of California, or resident. It's not a citizen. I'm a resident of California, but my LLC is in New Mexico, so it could be either way. So let me search for that. If they don't have one specifically in New Mexico. Assignment of trade name, collateral, assignment of trademarks. Let's see. Trademarks license agreement, assignment of rights and invention. Actually, assignment of intellectual property rights might be the best thing because technically, I also need to assign the copyrights of the channels, or I might assign the copyrights. I haven't decided yet. And this is one of the things to know about when you get template documents is they're fairly legal, so for and in consideration of payment by assigning to assigner of and other good and valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which is hereby acknowledged. Assigner sells, delivers, assigns, and transfers to assignor all of the right, title, and interest of the assignor and intellectual property described in Exhibit A, hereinafter called the intellectual property. So for me, that's easy, right? But it is legalese, okay? It is some legalese, right? All kinds of stuff, blah, blah, blah. So this isn't actually that long. And then it gets notarized. For assigning trademarks, you want to get it notarized. Generally speaking, whenever you to sell or assign property where you're going to have to file that with some government, you usually need it notarized. Maybe you always do. Okay. And then you put an attachment. Yeah, I think I like that one. So let's download that. And so that's why when you assign a trademark, it actually has to be a registered trademark with the United States Patent Office. You actually have to file that with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. It's like a special division just for assignments and things. And it's a form that you fill out on their application, but you have to attach the actual assignment. And so you could use something like this. Now, in this case, I'm not doing one that's just a trademark one. I'm doing one that's intellectual property. Intellectual property includes, well, I don't have any patents, but it would include patents. It includes trade secrets. It includes copyrights. And then how this works is I'm assigning everything that I have in Exhibit A. And in Exhibit A, I can list all the things that I'm assigning, and then I can move it over. I actually am going to also be assigning things that's technically right now owned by my law firm also to this because I'm making like a holding company for my YouTube stuff. And I could probably do a whole video about that, couldn't I? And maybe I will do that in the future. Those are the three forms that I need to set up at my LLC and get everything in there. Now, the LLC is already created, but I need the forms to do the operating agreement for the LLC, to give myself permission to open a bank account and everything, which I already did in the past. So I'm giving myself kind of retroactive permission. I am ratifying what I did in the past. I need a document to transfer all the trademarks over. And then in that document, the intellectual property document, I will also be transferring over copyrights and stuff like that too. I haven't registered copyrights on my content because registering copyrights on videos, I would have to do it fairly often with all my new videos. And you have copyright rights as soon as you create something. Register the copyrights gives you in a way, more rights. You have to do it before you can file a lawsuit, and you also get statutory damages if you do it within 3 months of creation. However, if you create a lot of stuff, it can be very burdensome and to do all the time. So I really don't do that. For my business, I would do it if I need to sue somebody, which is totally beyond the topic of this. But so generally speaking, I think that US Legal Forms is a good place to get forms. Their fees for their kind of basic account is just $8 a month. You pay for a whole year up front. And I think that is a very reasonable price to get access to a ton of forms. They say 85,000 state-specific legal forms, and also a bunch of US-based forms. And then also you can get all kinds of personal stuff too, which is actually very helpful, right? So if you're loaning money to a family member, if you want to set up a will. Now, one of the things with estate planning documents is that you're going to have to get it notarized or witnessed or whatever is the rule for your state. You need to make sure you're getting the right thing. So let's actually pull that up for wills, because I'm kind of curious about that. So let's say someone is single with adult children. That's me. Now, I am divorced, not married. How would that be different? Okay. And then you fill this all out. You list your personal representative, and then you have to sign it in front of 2 witnesses. I wish it was actually something that you notarize, because then you have to find 2 witnesses, and you want to find witnesses who are not interested. So you don't want to have like the person who's inheriting the money be one of the witnesses. So you sign it in front of 2 witnesses who are effectively not related to you, but really actually it's not that they're not related to you. They need to be not people who are inheriting. So that can make it complicated. I say that actually for me, I travel around and stuff. So I'm like, oh, I have to find 2 people who are in the same place at the same time who aren't going to inherit from me. So one thing to know is if you have minor children who are not legal adults versus adult children, it will be different. Also, do you need to set up a trust? Because you have enough money where setting up a trust is important. You can set up a trust now, or you can set up a trust in your will. There's a lot of different options. So for some people, just having a will is actually all they need. For a lot of people, they actually need something more complicated. So, however, I would say, generally speaking, if you cannot pay for a lawyer, you can't deal with hiring a lawyer, having a will is better than having nothing. Having a will with witnesses that signed it and all that stuff is better than nothing. However, if you have enough money, going to a lawyer and actually having them set up an estate plan for you is going to be a way to save a lot of money on taxes, and also make sure that whoever inherits from you it's set up in a way that will make it so they're not irresponsibly spending all the money in a terrible way. Like, some people don't need to inherit a whole bunch of money at once. It'd be better for it to go to a trust. But that is very much beyond the scope of this video. However, I just wanted to kind of show you all the different stuff that they have in here that could be very helpful for you. Horses. Okay, I'm very distracted by all these different documents. So again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts Weinstein. As I said, I am an affiliate of US Legal Forms. I actually recommended them before I became an affiliate, but here we are. So if you would like to support the channel, there's a link below where you could click on it, and then it will support the channel if you do decide to sign up. If you have any questions about maybe what form you might need, or how to use US Legal Forms, or any other recommendations like that, ask them in the comments below and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Thumbs up if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more videos like this, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.